Alright, hello, my name is Mr. Pavlo, and right here I'm doing a new series that I'm calling Understanding Greatness. Now, the point of this series is to see what top teams are doing, like specific aspects of what top teams are doing, and figure out, why it's so good and why it's working, and also kind of how to play against it. So right here, I'm going to take a look at the Team Immortals pick and ban phase now. As you know, anybody who watches NA can probably tell you that Team Immortals is completely dominant right now. And I think personally that a ton of that stems from their pick and ban phase. So understanding this, I feel, is like the most important aspect to understanding Team Immortals right now. So first, let's. So the three things I'm going to go over in this video are what they do in pick and ban, why it works so well, and finally how to play against it. So let's take a quick look at their pick bans. So here, these are the 6 games they've played. So, you guys can read what they say. But some things I want to point out is that they've banned Tahm Kench in all 6 of their games. So it's just not a champion that they want to deal with. It doesn't really fit Huni's play style. It doesn't fit Adrian's play style, so they just don't deal with it. Additionally, they've banned Graves in 4 of their games, rather interestingly. The only game where they didn't contest it was the first game against Cloud9. But they have actually banned Graves in all 4 of their games. They picked a top the other game, so that's kind of interesting. And then the rest of the bans kind of fairly standard. And then if we take a look at the bans against them, we can see just a great variety of bans. Like, I think it's 13. Like, just so many champions banned against this team. They have incredible depth of champion pool, so it's really hard to ban against them. And that's one reason that makes them really strong. So as you can see, Huni's played 5 champions. Reignover's played 5 champions. Poe Belter's played 6 champions, and then Wild Turtle and Adrian have only played 2 each. But when your top lane and your jungle and mid draw all these bans, you can see there's one Alistar ban, 1 Quinn ban, and a Corki ban. So like 3 bans over these games are targeting, the bottom lane that Corki's again a flex pick. So bottom lane kind of gets to pick whatever they want, which I think is really good reason that they're strong. So now kind of for the what they do part. So what Immortals does above all else is they prioritize flex picks in their drafting, and this is something we'll see when we go over their individual games. But Immortals will pick flex picks over power picks right now. They really Immortals' whole draft really sets up themselves to have winning lanes, and after this, they snowball their winning lanes into pressure on the map, and then right now in the meta, if you snowball pressure into a mid tower, then it gives you incredible map control, and then if you're able to win a mid-game team fight, you can take so much off of that because of the increased death timers. So what they focus on, their number one objective is securing flex picks in the pick ban phase. So we can see that we have this Lissandra flex that's shared by mid and top, this Graves flex, mid and top, Quinn, or top and jungle, Quinn, mid and top flex. If you don't believe me, go watch the OGN, Faker plays at mid, and Sasin from Svenu plays at mid. And then again, we have this Olaf flex pick, Poppy, triple flex. Here we have the Lulu flex, Liss, actually both of them have played it. Corki, flex pick. So we can see they prioritize all these flex picks in their drafting, and the reason you prioritize flex picks is to get opportunistic lane matchups. And so that's what Immortals prioritize. A lot of teams don't have as high a priority on that as Immortals, but they do it, and it works really well. So I guess that kind of leads into our second point, why it works. So why it works so well is kind of what I discussed earlier. When you have favorable lane matchups, not only can you dictate the lane swap, which is incredibly important. Like, having priority on the lane swap is so good. If you have priority on the lane swap, okay, and you can knock down the enemy's top or bot tower first, that means not only are you going to 100% be able to secure a bounce of the bottom lane tower, but you're also going to be able to send your bottom lane up to wherever their top laner is to break their freeze. So that gets your top laner ahead, and that's really what Immortals focus on, is getting Huni ahead of the opposing top laner. And so having winning lanes and forcing priority on a lane swap does that for you. So they are a very, very early game focused team. And in this early game, it is focused on getting Huni ahead. So this is Oracle's Elixir. I have some stats pulled up already. So Oracle's Elixir, great stats resource. I'd recommend checking it out. So this is CS differential at 10. And as you can see, Huni is sitting here at 16.8 CS per 10 ahead. And that's 6 CS ahead of anybody else. Like 6 CS at 10 minutes over anybody else in the league on average at 10 minutes. Like Hui, great differential. 16.8 is just an unheard of differential at 10 minutes. And we can see the next closest top laner has a 4.2 average CS differential at 10. So you can really see that, this is a priority. So on average, at 10 minutes, their top laner is up 17 CS. That's a ridiculous advantage. And so what they do with this is they use Huni. So after they get Huni this advantage, is they use him to draw pressure. Kill participation, I wanted. Okay, so kill participation. So what they do is they use Huni to draw pressure top lane. Again, this is all created by these favorable picks. So this is a pick and ban video, so I want to go back to this really quick. They get a counter pick top or a winning matchup top, and then that enables all of this because they have, again, priority on the lane top and priority in a 1v1. So, that helps carve that out. So if we look at kill participation, Huni is actually the third lowest in the league. And I mean, these are all top laners, but Huni is, this is top low. So he's the third lowest of all the top laners in the league. Balls and RF Legendary are the only 2 top laners that have lost kill participation. So this is really important. It means that Immortals, once they have this lead on their top laner, are using him to split push and draw pressure. Once they do this, they open up the map so much for themselves because once Huni has it's up 17 CS on the opposing top laner at 10 minutes, he can't be dealt with 1v1, especially because he picks these strong 1v1 champions, and that means he draws the enemy jungler up, and Reignover has the option of either responding or creating pressure on the rest of the map, both of which he does extremely well. So once they have that advantage on Huni, they are excellent at snowballing it. And then if we take a look at death percentage, Huni actually leads the league in death percentage. Again, this is because he draws a lot of pressure, and when he's 2v1, he'll almost always go for a kill, and he almost always gets it. So teams are focusing a lot of resources on shutting Huni down, but it doesn't matter. He's already got this huge advantage. So even if he dies, like that 17 CS differential at 10 minutes, that's worth the kill gold. So, teams expend a lot to kill him, and he's still set. And meanwhile, the rest of his team, does great things across the rest of the map. So, so that's kind of why what they do in picks and bans works. What they do, get favorable matchups, and then try to snowball those. So we're gonna just take a look quickly at some of the pick and ban phases they've had. So here, this is the first game against Cloud9. The thing I want to note in this draft in particular is that we see that Pobelter has actually blind picked mid lane, and they've left their top lane pick for last pick. So this is something we really don't see done that often. Most times it's you leave mid lane for the last pick. And it's especially relevant because Ryze was kind of developed as a counter pick, or he kind of emerged in the meta around Season 5 Worlds as a counter pick to Twisted Fate. So it's really a really interesting thing that Pobelter will blind pick his mid laner to secure Huni a better matchup. And as we know, Jensen, Cloud9's last 2 picks end up being Braum and Echo, and then Huni picks Cho'Gath, and the Cho'Gath silence is absolutely not only shuts down Ryze, it shuts down their whole team. He can disrupt MF around Braum Shield, he can silence Ryze, and he can silence Echo. So these champions that need to get into melee range get silenced and then get killed in the 2.5 seconds or whatever the silence duration is. So, I mean, this game is pretty much won in pick and bans just off that Cho'Gath pick and Pobelter's willingness to blind pick a mid laner on red side. This next game is probably it was Immortals' most lopsided game, but it's probably their most unremarkable pick and ban phase. Here we can see that Immortals prioritizes Lulu with the first overall pick. I think that's a really good call. protecting Wild Turtle, who is really good, who's really good at playing that aggressive AD carry positioning, is very, very good. We see Rainover prioritizes Elise as his go-to jungler, and the Corki pick, you might think it's a flex. Corki is a wonderful flex pick. It can flex top or mid, but I'm pretty sure if you're Team Impulse, you know that Lulu's going mid and that Corki then is probably going bottom. I think this is probably the best draft anybody had against Immortals was Team Impulse. I don't like the Nidalee pick, but I mean, we saw how this game happened. This is just a big enough skill differential in this game. Team Impulse with subs versus Immortals that this really didn't matter. Next is the TSM game. This is probably my favorite draft from Immortals. So, TSM does this weird thing where they pick Caitlyn Braum with their second and third picks. There are a lot of power picks up. We see things like Alistar, Lucian are both up, and these I think are Alistar, Lucian, and Kalista actually are all up right now. And so I think Kalista Alistar is just a way better bot lane than Braum Caitlyn. But that's so it's a weird draft from TSM. But if we look at what Immortals has right now, they have Lissandra, Corki, Olaf locked in. Now they have 3 flex picks locked in, so there's so many different places they could go. Okay, Huni can play Olaf top, or Rainover, who's known as an Olaf player, can play a jungle. We've seen Olaf top, we haven't seen Olaf jungle. We don't know where that's going. Lissandra can go top or mid. Corki can go ADC or bot. So here, Immortals basically gets to guarantee that they get whatever matchups they want in top and mid lane from red side. So, here we can see their excellent use of flex picks. It's my favorite draft from them. They secured just so much flexibility in these 3 champions that TSM really does not get any control over their lane matchups that they want. Next is the NRG versus Immortals game. I have it paused here because we can see that Immortals is able to identify from these 3 picks that it's a poke comp, because that's what this Rengar is. Maybe you consider Rengar a counter pick to Nidalee, but I think Immortals is able to very early identify that this energy is going to run a pick comp, and so they're able. Again, they have this flex pick. They have this Lissandra. So they're able. That's their first overall pick is this Lissandra. They give up the Corki, but they get the Lissandra. So they're able to move this Lissandra around. She can go top. She can go mid. Of course, we end up seeing Huni playing at top, which, he has that great engage that ends up winning them the game. But, early, their pick ban phase is so strong. So not only do they have a great understanding of what champions they want, they also understand the other team's comps. We see this Rengar pick so early in the draft, and, it really does great work this game. The last game I want to go over is their pick ban against Renegades. This one, I really want to show that Immortals doesn't prioritize power picks as much as they do flex picks. So right now, Immortals has this flex pick Graves, they've got a flex pick Graves and they've got that flex pick Graves and the flex pick Poppy, which they prioritize over Gangplank and Ryze, who are both available right now and regarded as probably the 2 strongest champions in the meta right now, as seen by their ban rate. So Immortals really chooses flex picks. They first pick that Graves, which is really interesting because they ban Graves every game up to this. So they first pick that Graves, and then they don't pick Gangplank or Ryze. So very interesting decision. So, but this all works. They get these favorable lane matchups, and they're so good at capitalizing on the early pressure they get from getting Huni ahead that this team just keeps winning games. So now I guess the most important part of this video is how you play against it. In my opinion, there are 2 schools of thought, and I'm going to go to this last game right here. So right here, what I want to bring up, the 2 schools of thought is, so one way to beat this is identify that Immortals do not prioritize power picks. They prioritize flex picks. So right now, Echo Fox gets Alistar and Kalista, consider the strongest bottom lane. Fiora, consider the strongest top laner right now, or one of the strongest top laners right now. Of course, Poppy's banned, so that really limits the options of people that want to be on Fiora, but of course Huni has the Quinn. That's probably why they left the Fiora up. But that's another counter pick. But what I want to talk about here is that Immortals gives up arguably the strongest bot lane pairing, a very strong top laner, and they give the opportunity for Echo Fox to get Rise and Gangplank, or I guess Gangplank in this case. So I guess your school of thought here, your first school of thought for beating Immortals is to play a scaling comp, grab all these power picks, and grab the Gangplank, grab the Rise, and just try to scale. Don't try to engage them. Play back, and if you can keep the game within 4 or 5K deficit at 30 minutes, and then you've got a Gangplank mid and a Rise top coming online, and then you've got your Alistar Kalista bottom lane for initiation, then in something like a Rek'Sai jungle, because we see Reignover prioritize Elise and Team Immortals prioritize Elise very highly. So if you can get to this 30-minute point where you understand that you're not going to fight them early, and you understand that you're going to be taking deficits. I mean, this is probably the harder way to do it, because this is what Immortals wants you to do. Obviously, they leave up these power picks because they're confident in their ability to counterpick them. We see Pobelter pick Syndra as a Gangplank counterpick and do incredible work on that. So this is probably the harder way to beat Team Immortals. I think if we see them in international play, and they keep up this pick ban pattern, this is what we'll probably see them falter, just because they give up so many power picks in their drafting to prioritize flex picks and counter picks. So that's probably the first way you could shut down Immortals. The second way that you could shut down Immortals is trying to do. See, they put you in a hard situation. Either they can do. The two ways to beat them are you can do what they want you to do, which is pick a scaling comp with these scaling power picks, or you can try to beat them at their own game, which is of course difficult. So the way to do this is you probably want to save your red side counter pick for top lane. We see this in the Renegades game it's Team Impulse game where they save the counter pick for the top laner. So that Immortals plays around this Huni getting a strong matchup and creating strong early game pressure. So you can save your red side pick for top lane. And that being said, force Huni onto something like a Lysandra. I think his Lysandra game was honestly his least impressive game this split. Okay, he made the one very good engage play that won them the game. However, we saw him almost getting solely to flash away from impact. He has this style where he's going to split push and he wants to assert himself in 1v1. And on something like Lysandra that doesn't have that great of a late game 1v1, that's really big. And it's so crucial if you're playing Immortals and you're lane swapping to play it properly. So what you want to do is you have to let your top laner get solo good on the tower, and you have to bounce the wave. So by doing that, Immortals is going to do that every time. They're going to let Huni get solo go, and they're going to bounce the wave so he gets a CS advantage. So if you want to stay even, you have to mirror that. And we saw teams like TSM, misplay the lane swap and then fall into this huge top lane deficit. And Haunter was able to pick up the 1v1 later, but we see Immortals play the lane swap perfectly every game. So if you want to beat them, playing an early game strategy, you have to also play the late game, the early game perfectly. So I guess those are my thoughts on the Immortals pick and ban phase. I think it's their strongest aspect right now. Just kind of wrap up. If I'm coaching and I'm facing Immortals, I'm never gonna tot. Okay, so Sam Red side, Immortals is gonna ban Tahm Kench every time. Okay, I probably will ban Graves, and then my 3 bans are probably gonna be. It depends on what you do, because so my 3 bans are probably gonna be Graves, and then a counter pick, probably something like I might actually ban Syndra against this team, just because if I want to secure a Gangplank for my team, I want to take away Pobelter's counter pick to that. And so you can't ban any of these players out. I would ban Graves, Syndra, and then I'm not sure, something like Corki probably last ban. Because there's so many flex picks in the meta right now. They're gonna get some flex picks, and if you want to play something like a Gangplank, you have to ban the counter to that. And Immortals have not shown that they're willing to prioritize that. So those are my thoughts on the Team Immortals pick and ban phase. I think they have the strongest pick and ban phase that I've seen in the West. maybe even in the world right now. They're the only team that I've really seen that prioritizes these flex picks over these power picks, and it's worked to a great extent. I think it's partially their style. I think it's their style is made to do this, and so they're the only team that we've really seen do this. And as the Coup Tigers are showing in Korea, you can win with early game pressure. You know, and so yep, those are my thoughts on the Immortals pick and ban phase. I love discussing this stuff, so please give me any feedback you can. Again, my name is Mr. Pavlo, so please, leave me comments, talk about this. I'll do my best to respond to everyone. Watch out for Immortals pick and ban phase.